This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network back in the studios in Des Moines. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Monday, November the 18th, 2024, just 10 days away from Thanksgiving 2024. Hope you're getting everything set to go and are ready for your family to come and have all that kind of fun with your Thanksgiving festivities. Coming up in today's program, we'll be talking with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net a little later in the program to find out what happened in the closing market report. But first, let's go ahead and talk with Dr. Marisa Rotolo of the National Pork Board. She is the chief swine health veterinarian there. We talk about what happened with the H5N1 discovery in Oregon. Working with the National Pork Board and Marisa Rotolo. Thanks so much for taking time to visit with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're talking about something that's just developed here very recently. We've been watching H5N1 for a while in birds, always known as the bird flu. We saw it cross the species barrier to cattle and then to humans. So it was probably a matter of time before hogs got into the conversation. Now last week or so, we find out in Oregon, a couple pigs are involved. Tell us about that situation and where we found ourselves.
Yeah, so a couple weeks back, like you said, we had a detection of H5N1 in a backyard operation in some pigs. And to clarify, this is a backyard operation. These animals were not raised for food consumption. The USDA has evaluated the situation, and the risk to our commercial herd remains low. In addition to that, properly cooked and handled pork is safe to eat. There's no risk of contracting influenza from properly handled and cooked pork. What this tells us is it gives us an opportunity to take a look at our biosecurity, right? And start to evaluate our sites and see where is there room for improvement? What opportunities do we have to kind of bulk up our biosecurity on our sites, right? So focusing on trying to eliminate that interaction between pigs and other species such as bird, other livestock, pest species like raccoons, possums, whatnot. So taking this as an opportunity to evaluate your situation and see if you have any room for improvement.
All right, so talking about then what it means for hogs. We know birds, it's practically a death sentence. We know in cattle, they can recover from it. Do we see any information yet on how this is going to react in hogs?
It's important to note that, we haven't seen a lot of H5N1 in pigs, right? We just had this one detection in Oregon. On this site, the pigs were not displaying any clinical signs of disease. This was more of the veterinarian was there and made the decision to test the pigs given the situation with H5N1. So we have not seen clinical disease. The USDA has evaluated the situation. The risk of transmission to hogs will be low. USDA is also performing multiple research studies to further understand how H5N1 will present in pigs.
So is there any protocols that are going to be that are in place? I'm sure it was a thing that's been planned for a while. Protocols in place then in the situation if things were to advance any further, what would happen if it starts popping up in more hogs?
Right, so USDA, National Pork Board, National Pork Producers Council, CDC, FDA, AASV, the Swine Health Information Center, we've all been working together to create a plan or a response guide should H5N1 be detected in commercial herds. Again, the risk to our commercial herd remains low, and USDA is continuing to collaborate with industry experts to ensure that we are prepared should it enter our commercial herd.
All right. Anything that producers should be thinking about? Obviously you said they weren't showing any signs, so it's really hard to tell what we should be looking for, but obviously monitoring herd health, I suppose, especially if you're in a multi-species setup, like if you have birds in the area, things like that, now that we know it could transmit, I suppose keep an eye out with your veterinary health people, right?
The best thing you can do right now is take a look at your site and see if there's any measures that you can put into place to really separate your hogs from other species. And if you're in a commercial system, if you've got feed spills, cleaning up those feed spills as soon as possible because those tend to attract birds, right? Checking your bird netting, making sure you don't have any holes, making sure your curtains don't have any holes. I highly recommend that people look to the porkcheckoff.org site. We have an influenza landing page if you want to learn more about influenza or different ways to manage influenza, different biosecurity practices. All of that information is on that porkcheckoff.org. In addition to that, we have our secure pork supply plans, which are an enhanced biosecurity plan That website and that information can be found at securepork.org. There is a plethora of resources there that you can learn more about biosecurity and see if there's ways to elevate your biosecurity on your site and further prevent the risk of transmission of not only H5N1, but our endemic diseases such as PRRS, PED, and mycoplasma.
So is it for those farmers that, obviously I know there was a setup in Oregon, it's not a huge commercial facility like we're used to seeing in places like Iowa where the hogs maybe have more of an open area interacting. What kind of things should they be thinking about to help prevent this from spreading around?
For them, if you've got hogs with outdoor access, you want to work on bird deterrence. You want to make sure that you're walking your pens, looking at your hogs, making sure that if you do see, let's say you see a dead bird in your pen, making sure you remove that immediately. Working with your veterinarian to monitor those animals, making sure that you're close contact with your veterinarian and your state animal health official so that you're staying up to date, staying aware, and staying informed.
Well, Marisa, a lot of great things for our producers to be thinking about. Thank you so much for giving us that insight today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And that again was Dr. Marisa Rotolo of the National Pork Board. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net to find out what happened in the markets. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. We're back on Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Time for the closing market report, and we're talking right now with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin looked at the prices here right before the end, and it looked like the corn and soybeans had a nice little gain going on today.
Yeah, the soybeans were kind of lagging most of the day, but they started gaining a little more traction as we headed toward the close. So it was good. We did most of the harvesting is complete. So basis has firmed a little bit, and farmers are basically have it put away and holding tight to it. So we might see some gains in basis, which probably is pushing a little bit more into the futures market as well. We did have export inspections out this morning. Corn was right in a little more toward the higher end of the range at 820,608 metric tons. Soybeans came in close to the about in the middle of the range at 2.155 million metric ton. So that was very good export inspections for soybeans. Wheat at the low end, actually below at 196,281 metric tons. So that was not very good. However, really the wheat kind of led the charge today. They were up double-digit gains, even when corn was kind of lagging a little bit. So I think that finally permeated through, pushed things higher, and which was a little bit of a surprise because we have had some good moisture in the wheat areas. So some of those producers in that area are really happy, and they say it's really going to be beneficial for their wheat before it goes into dormancy. And so he has some good rains plus. But some of the support, I think, came through a firm in Russia called Risagratrans. They're looking at winter wheat acres potentially at 15.4 million hectares, and that's the lowest since 2018-19 crop year. So I think we had a little bit of support coming through from that. Wheat conditions this afternoon, they're expecting 46% good to excellent, up 2% from last week. And winter wheat plantings at 95% complete, up 4% from last week. Now, the Brazilian soybean plantings are ahead of last year, which is, again, we had some concern early that it was dry and they weren't planting, but with some moisture coming through, they've really pushed that ahead. And so they're running ahead of last year, and really that's going to be something that being planted ahead might increase some of the projections as far as their yield was concerned, but that was not the focus today. We did see some strength coming in through that market that permeated through the grain complex.
All right, and then moving over to livestock, cattle and hogs, what did we see come out of there today?
Well, looks like we're higher across the board. The cattle kind of, I think, bounced off of that 100-day moving average. They closed below that on Friday, but then came above it today. That's something that they flirted with here for a little while. That's coming off of lower cash cattle trade last week, with southern cattle down $2 and northern dress cattle down $3 last week, which kind of will keep a lid on that market. Now, box beef prices were very mixed today, a large dynamic. We had choice up $4.48 at the midday report and select down $1.09. So that could be a moving target. Now, one of the concerns that had been in that market is the weakness in box beef. So it will be interesting to see where that ends up today, but we've see a large dynamic that happened in there. On the hog side, there were strong cutouts on Friday, but they've kind of backed off this morning. Now there was being backed off a little bit at the noon report, just 8 cents, not a big deal. The National Direct cash report was 25 cents higher. That's a little surprising because normally on Mondays they really don't see packers coming in very aggressively in order to purchase hogs but there wasn't a lot of movement there, a little over 880 head that made up that National Direct price. But one of the things that we might be seeing here is funds might defend their long positions in that market. They've been holding long positions. It seems like the hogs numbers have not been out there, that there was anticipation, and the market has been trending higher significantly. Now that we had a break, they might be viewing this as a buying opportunity and might defend their positions, and we may see that market go higher yet.
All right. Well, Robin, if folks want to talk about what the market situation is, maybe think about some of their 25 planning or whatever that we can get from agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, they can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net, and there's an 844 number there, which will come into the main office, and who's ever available, we'll be glad to help them.
Well, Robin, thanks so much for the insight, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
That again was Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at the closing numbers. You can find them for yourself at iowaagnet.com right there under the market tab. December corn up 5 1/4 at $4.29 1/4. Soybeans up 11 1/4 for January at $10.09 3/4. Soybean meal up 70 cents at $2.90.30 per ton. Soy oil is 17 cents higher at $45.52. Chicago wheat up 10 3/4 at $5.47 1/4. Kansas wheat up 15 1/4 at $5.55 1/4. At press time, Minneapolis spring wheat was up 12.5 cents at $5.84 3/4. Oats up 7 cents at $3.63 3/4. On the Merc live cattle up $1.15 at $184.10. Feeders up $2.27 at $249.50. Lean hogs up 52 cents at $80.02. Pork cutouts down $1.35. That's at $91.37. Class 3 milk up 54. And that's been our market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. We thank you for watching. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, X, and on our YouTube channel. You can also find replays of the Iowa Ag Matters program every midday right on our website, iowaagnet.com. The Pods of Potential podcast, all our daily market podcasts, which you can get free of charge through your favorite podcast supplier, or listen right there at iowaagnet.com. Don't forget about the free e-newsletter that comes out every day at 5 o'clock, and we recap some of the stories of the day and what's going on in the agricultural industry. That's free of charge as well at iowaagnet.com. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Mark Magnuson, Riley Smith, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.